Hey everyone, Dan Saavedra here from mergerdata.com, and today we're going to build out an automated referral setup inside of HubSpot. So HubSpot recently released a new feature to be able to associate same objects to each other, so contacts to contacts, deals to deals, companies to companies. And so what we're going to do is we're going to build out a really simple referral tracking system where we're just creating a new contact who's a referral and then associating it back to the person who referred them. And you can get a lot more complicated with this by automatically creating deals and automatically creating companies, which is something that we built for clients already. But we're just going to do the simple version here, and then you can brainstorm a little bit further on how you can set up the rest of it. So this is going to be the first time that we're building live here. So we've built this a few times, and I'm going to try to remember the setups that we've used the best that I can. And then hopefully you can take these steps to build out your own referral system. And so basically what we're going to do is we're going to create a form that is a form that collects both ticket information and then contact information. And then we're going to use workflows to create objects. We're going to use some apps to associate objects to each other correctly. And then we're going to just look at how this works overall. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out by going up here to the settings. We're going to build out some properties first before we get started. Now, we could do this inside of the form builder, but I like to do it here because we're also going to be setting up associations as well. So the first thing that I'll do is go to properties here, click on that. And then I'm going to set up a couple properties that we've used to track categorizations of people. So basically what I'm going to do is create a property on the contact. And then actually before I do that, let me go back and create a group for referral information specifically. So I'm going to go to groups up here, create group, and then I'm going to go ahead and do referral information. So this is where we'll track the various properties on the contact that we want to see when someone is referring. And so I'm going to go down, select referral information. And then what I'm going to do is sourced from referral. Now, we like to do this just for simplicity of reporting, and we make it a checkbox property. But there is another option here that we can do. So I'm just going to do this source from referral. It'll be yes or no. So we're going to show that. Forms, pop-ups, and bots. The other thing that we could do here, let me see. Yep. I go to type. Can't remember if there was a contact type or not. No, it's just deal type. So we use the deal type sometimes in our setups if we want to automatically create a referral deal. But because there's no contact property that's standard in HubSpot for like a contact type, we do that sourced from referral property. And then what we're going to do is we're also going to create a number of referrals property. So source from referral is going to be used when we're tracking the referral that is created. And then this is going to be used to log information for people who are referring. So this is just going to be a really simple field or simple property that we increment on. So count of referrals. This is the number of referrals this person has provided to us. Click on next. I'm going to go down to a number. Click on next. Then I limit the number of decimal places to 0. And I'm going to click on create. So now we're able to track both whether a contact came from a referral, and then we're also going to be able to track how many referrals someone gives us. So it makes reporting pretty easy for the team. Obviously with object associations, you can do some of this reporting anyways, but it makes it a lot easier for people who are non-technical to understand how to filter on reports by using these direct properties. If you do have people who are more technical users creating reports and they understand how objects can be associated to each other, sometimes this stuff isn't necessary, but this is what we do for most of our clients, and it seems to have worked out pretty well. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add in a few more properties that are honestly optional and sometimes not necessary depending on your setup, but this makes it easier for reporting. And what we're going to do is we're going to add in some referred by. So this is who the contact is referred by. We're going to add in their email. And typically we just leave an email. We don't do like names and stuff like that. Who referred the contact to us. So then this is just going to be a single line text. I'm going to leave everything as is and click on create. And then some other ones that we do might be something like referred by person name. Sometimes the salespeople like to just look at the properties rather than looking at the associated records, because that can get a little bit overwhelming for them, looking at labels and stuff like that. So sometimes we'll do this where we'll just go referred by person name. This is the name of the person who referred the contact. And I can't type today. Same thing, go through, single line text. Next, create. And then the last one that we might add is who the company is that the person, who the company, the person who referred the contact, you'll capture their company name. So referred by company name. So this is useful if, for example, you work with an enterprise client and maybe you work with like 6 or 7 people in their organization pretty closely, and a bunch of people from the organization gave you referrals, then it's useful to be able to group in reporting by the company who is referring. And so basically what we're going to do is we're just going to capture that here. This is the company of the person who referred contact. So it'll also be a single line text field. And that's it. And so when we're looking at things like this referred by company name, when we're building out this type of flow for clients, we'll associate the company to the new contact as well and just label it as referred by, so that information is there. Some people like doing that, some people don't. It could have some downstream effects depending on how you've set up other workflows. If you're assuming that people are only going to have one associated company and now you're adding in another one, then it can cause some problems. So depending on your setup and who you have running your HubSpot instance, the associations with the company may or may not be necessary. But those are usually the properties that we add in there. And then one other thing that I like to do is add in the ticket ID of the referral. Since we're going to be using a form that's attached to a ticket, ID referred by ticket ID. This is the original ticket ID, record ID, the ticket that created this referral. So then I'm just going to do a single line text property. This could probably be a number as well, but we always use single line text. And I'm going to click on create. And this is useful as well in case you want to run other workflows and use a lookup using that ticket ID. That can be pretty useful. You can use the email here for the referred by. You could always capture the record ID of the person who referred as well if you have a need for it. Us personally, we don't usually have a need for that. The other thing that we might create is something called refer date. Not really necessary because you'll just go off of the create date of the object instead. And so we're just going to skip that here. Then I'm going to go over to ticket properties because we're going to add in some properties here that we're going to need to capture in the initial form and then copy over to the referral, not the referred not the person who's referring, but the referral itself. And so we're not going to capture it in a contact property initially, because otherwise the person who's submitting the form is going to have that data placed on their record instead of the referral. And so that's why we have to create it in the ticket instead. And so I'm going to do that. Oops, I did the same mistake as before. I'm going to go up to groups first, and I'm going to create a group called referral information. Click on save. And then I'm going to go back over to properties to create our first property. And so a lot of these are going to be pretty repetitive compared to what we just added on the contact. But the first thing we're going to start with is the referrals email. And I'm going to skip the description so we can go a little bit faster here. But this is the person that is going to be created as a contact. It's the referral that the person is submitting. So it's referrals email. We're going to do single text. And then we're going to click on create. Then we're going to do one that would be referrals first and last name. I like to split these up so that we don't have to mess with first and last name stuff later. Referrals first name, field type, single line text, create. Then we're going to do referrals last name, create property, referral information, referrals last name. Done there. And then what we're going to do is, if you want, add in referrals phone number. Sometimes people have this, sometimes they don't. Phone number is always great, rather than having to email someone. Obviously, with referrals as well, if you can get the person to make an introduction themselves, that's always better, because they can just CC you on an email. And then you can still use these properties once you add that referral contact to your HubSpot instance. You'll be able to check all the properties of who's referred who and various information like that. So once we have that phone number in there, there might be some other stuff that you want to collect as well. We like to keep our data collection as simple as possible. So like, we could add some additional information. So if we wanted to say like, note from referrer, and so this would be anything that the person who is referring someone to us wants us to know. So we would just make this like a multi-line text, and this just gives us context. So if they wanted to tell us like, hey, they're having this problem, you should reach out to them about this, tell them you know me from this event, then that would be something they could capture there. Obviously, you can capture company name, company phone number, industry, stuff like that. We don't, because we can just use other tools to supplement that data. With HubSpot's acquisition of Clearbit, you'll be able to bring in a lot of that data automatically anyway. So as long as you have their work email, you're going to be able to pull in a lot of information. So we just try to remove the burden from the person giving the referral. Some other things are like website link, if you want that too, but same story as we'll just supplement that information later. But there are a couple more things that we want to add here. And so number one, we want to add in, actually, this is something that's not really necessary. Sometimes people want the referred by information captured as well inside of the ticket. So they do like a referred by email. And then basically what they would have the workflow do is, well, what we would have the workflow do is copy over the contact information that was submitted over to the ticket, so referred by email. Just because when you're looking at an individual ticket, it might be a little bit easier to read for whatever reason in a table view. So you could add in this referred by email, and we'll just put it in there for this example. But then you could also add things like first name, last name, phone number from the referred by. And then what we want to do is change the category. So you can create a separate property for this, or you can just add the category here. We would just add in referral so that we have that option. And basically we would be embedding this, or we will be embedding this in the form and hiding it and then just setting it automatically to the referral category. In terms of ticket settings, so now we're done adding properties. We're going to go over to ticket settings. And then we're going to look at the pipelines first, and then we'll get into associations after this. So that loads. So we have support pipeline, fulfillment pipeline, and then we can also create a pipeline here for referrals. And this can be useful for tracking maybe like account managers and salespeople associated with the referrals that come through. You could use this ticket pipeline to track commission and things like that. Depends on your setup and depends on what you want to do. So I'm going to do referrals here. Sometimes we'll put together like referrals and like growth deals or expansion deals or something like that so that you can fit both of those in the same pipeline. And then basically just cater these stages. We're not going to go through all this just because that's not what this video is about. We're just doing the referral contact setup. But you can get into automation here where you're syncing the ticket based off of deal statuses of deals that were created from the referral and stuff like that. So you can get pretty complicated with this and make it pretty involved. We won't do that here, but you can create that referral pipeline if you want to. And we'll do that just to house the tickets for now. So now I'm going to go over to associations here. And for this one, we're just going to set up the associations of tickets to contacts because we're not going to do the whole company creation and deal creation. Then I'm going to create an association label here. And I want to create two different association labels. One is referred by, so we can know who referred that person to us. And then we want to also know who the referral is. So we'll do that. And so basically each ticket should have two contacts. One is the person who submitted it. The other is the contact that they referred to us. And so we're pretty much done there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go to contacts and then set up our like object associations. So this is the real power of this new feature is you can build out things like this, which wouldn't have necessarily been as straightforward. You probably still could have done some workarounds, but often wasn't worth the squeeze. So we're going to do associations here. And then we're going to do contacts to contacts. So I'm going to go contacts. Whoops, it's not enabled. So I'm going to enable other associations first. It looks like maybe this is still in beta. I thought it was released to everyone. I don't see contacts to contacts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to product updates. So you might have to do this actually, depending on when you watch this video. So I'm going to go down to betas. And I'm going to do let's see. Here we go. Associate records of the same object type. So I'm going to join, enroll entire account. And now I'm going to go back to the association settings. And then I'm going to add contact to contact associations. So X out of this window. And now I'm going to do, I'll refresh. So that's probably why it happened. Perfect. So once this loads here, now we can see in the drop down, we have the contacts to contacts. And then we're just going to skip this little notification window. Cool. So create association label. The cool thing about this is you can do a pair of labels for the same object associations. So we can do something like referred by and referral, since that's what the pair will be. And so one will be referred by, the other person will be referral, and then we're just going to click on create. Okay, so now that we have the property set up and we have the associations set up, we can finally go and create our actual form. And so I'm going to go to marketing, lead capture, and then forms here. We're going to click on create form. And I like to create this as a standalone page just so that people can visit it by itself. It can be put wherever you want as just a link. You can obviously do an embedded form if you'd like, but I'm going to do standalone page here. And then what I'd like to do is go down and select a support ticket and click on start. And so if you don't have an inbox connected already for referrals, then you could set that up. I'm just going to use inbox right now and then save that. Best practice would be to go and set up a separate inbox specifically for referrals and expansion tickets and stuff like that. But for simplicity purposes, we're just going to use the general inbox here so we can keep going and keep configuring this. So HubSpot will provide us with existing properties already, and then we have the email contacts property here so that we can associate the record back to the person who is providing the referral. And so when it comes to ticket name, we can uncheck that, and then we can also uncheck ticket description. And sometimes you'll have to have, you'll have to have these fields or these properties on the form itself. You won't be able to delete it, as you can see. But what we're just going to do is we're going to hide it. And the reason for this is I don't want people to fill out this information. I want to format it myself based off of other properties that they submit on this form. And so we're going to instead use a workflow to populate these inside of HubSpot. And I like to usually format it with the person who is the new referral, and then a dash and name it referral created or something like that. So we'll do that in the workflow step that we'll be tackling, but right now we're just going to configure the form here. And so I'm also going to name this external referral form. And so you could separate this out depending on your processes. If you have an internal referral process where like an account manager is driving the actual referral on a meeting with the client, then you could create a separate form to collect some different information that you might not want to have your actual clients filling out when they're providing the referral. But basically what I'm first going to do, instead of adding properties on, we'll do that second. Hey guys, so after I recorded this video, I realized that I need to make a distinction here. This video is only for the external referral form setup. If you're going to be doing an internal referral form, the setup is going to look different. And the reason for that is because of how HubSpot captures information and changes source information for contacts that are submitting forms. So the setup would look different because we wouldn't want to fill out the person who's giving the referral as the email on the contacts property, because then it's going to start changing the original source and latest source information that isn't going to represent the contact accurately. And so then we're instead going to be associating the IP address of the internal employee who's filling out the form with a contact that they're not actually representing. So the internal referral process will be different. This is only a video for the external referral form that a client is filling out themselves. I'm going to just create some basic headers to separate everything out. And so I like to be really explicit with these forms. So it's going to be something like your information. And that'll be the section that the person who's providing the referral will fill out. And then we're going to create another section down here. And this is going to be the referral information section. And so this will be all the information that we'll collect for the referral so that we can create that contact inside of HubSpot. So then I'm going to go back here. Obviously, you can also create a title for the form if you want to do that. And so you can name this something like client referral form. And then if you want to make it branded, you can add in your image or maybe some additional text below with instructions. Maybe you run a promo or something where you're like, each referral who becomes a client will get you a $500 gift card, something like that. Depends on how you want to word it and stuff like that. But I've seen some people do that. We'll put this in for clients depending on if they're running a promo or not. Some people don't do that and just leave it blank. And so now that we have everything set up, I'm going to delete this image just for this example. We have our property in here that we want to make required so that we can associate the information correctly back to the person who's submitting the referral. And so I like to change these to be even more explicit. So it'll be your email. And then since we did put in the referral name and then referral company name in there, we can add those properties as well. If you want to block free email providers, you can do that. Depends on what type of business you run. If you are a business-to-business company and your industry pretty much uses their own domains for email, then you can block that. You can also create a list here if you want to. So let's say you just get a lot of like Yahoo spam, then you can do that. Otherwise, you can block all free email providers. You can see the list that HubSpot provides. Yeah, so down here you can see all of the free email providers that they block. For us specifically, we have some clients who just use for the free email providers for us. We have clients who have a lot of customers who have free email, so we don't want to block this. So I'm just going to remove that here, but you can do that if you would like. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add in additional properties here that we created and that we want to capture. So really we just need to create one property for the email that's on the contact object so that we can associate everything correctly. And so then what we're going to be doing is using ticket properties from here on out. And you can see here that we have a referred by email that we will populate later on in a workflow because we don't want them to submit that twice. And then if we had the referred by properties as well, then we could add that in. Let's say we want to add in some additional referred by information. We don't have to go back to the properties window to do that. We can create a new property. So if we wanted to do that, we could do something like this. Do it on the ticket. We'll do referral information. And let's do like referred by name. We could add that in if we wanted to. And so now we have that in here, and then we could just go and change this value to your company name if that's something that we wanted to include. Now, one thing I will note is that we want to be careful with what contact properties we put on here. So obviously, if you just want to collect their first name on this ticket, instead we would use a workflow to pull that information from the contact that's associated. You wouldn't want to add in the actual properties from the contact for company name and for first name, last name, because if someone then types in placeholder values or changes spelling on accident, makes a typo, it's going to overwrite your record for the contact. And especially if you're cleaning records in your database, you wouldn't want to add those properties in here and overwrite them. So instead, we're just going to rely on this email property and hopefully have it autofill as well based off of the person who is filling it out. So either way, we're going to start with your email here. If you want to add in additional properties, then you can and make them ticket properties. Then we're going to go down here to referral information, and we're going to add in those referral properties that we created on the ticket here. So if I go down to ticket properties, and then what I can do is I can add in referrals email. Sometimes I like to put name first, so I'm going to do that here. Do first name, last name. Then we're going to do a phone number. And then that should be, we'll add in the note from referrer as well. And that should pretty much be it for the properties that we need to add. The only thing that I forgot here would be the category. So here we would want to add in the category. We want to make the field hidden, and then we want to select a specific value. So it'll be referral, and then that's it. It's good to go. So now we're going to fill this out for them. They won't see it on the actual form, but we'll collect that information that this ticket is a referral ticket. And then I'm just going to go through here, and I'm going to rename any properties that I want. I like this. I think this is fine. So I'm just going to leave these as is, and then I'm just going to make these required. This is typically what we do. We at least need an email. Sometimes people don't have a phone number, don't want to give it out. And so what I'll do is I'll leave it as optional, and then I'll also put optional in front. And then same thing with the note. So I'll rename this optional, and then I say something like any notes for when we reach out to this referral. And I'll put comments. And so now we have all of our properties set up, and the form is good to go. Obviously, if you collect additional information for these referrals, you would add it in here. You can add in properties in the background as well that are hidden, so that you don't have to specifically ask them for that information, and you can get that information on the ticket submission. One thing that could be useful is if you use properties like your UTM. I don't think we have them on this test account, but for all our clients, we put in the hidden UTM parameters as properties. And so you would want to add in those to this form and then hide them, so that if you are pushing people to this form from specific campaigns and content and channels, then you would want to collect that information on the submission as well. But we're not going to do that for this one. So we have our form set up. We're going to go to options here. If you want to redirect them to another page, let's say you use an external like gifting platform, for example. We've used Goody in the past for our clients, and so we'd redirect them to whatever URL you have to say thank you. If you want to send them a gift, you can just do a thank you message. I wouldn't recommend for this setup doing a meetings page unless you really want to like follow up on this immediately. And that's pretty much it. For the set lifecycle stage 2, I would just keep this at some lifecycle stage in the beginning. And the reason for that is because if the person is further along, they're already a customer, it's not going to impact their lifecycle stage, because HubSpot won't move them backwards. And then you might be getting referrals from people who are not yet clients. And this really depends on how you track lifecycle stages for contacts. If you have this evangelist stage, then maybe you want to push people to it. Maybe you don't, because they're not a customer yet. Maybe you are only sending this referral form over to existing customers, and then you can safely move them to the evangelist. So just make sure that you understand your life cycle stages and how you want to use those. Otherwise, I would just keep them at something in the beginning or keep this as something in the beginning of the life cycle stage in order to not move them anywhere that you don't intend to. So the other thing is you can send submission email notification to the contact's owner. I would recommend this, especially if you're using the contact owner as an account manager or something like that. Then they'll be notified when one of their accounts sends a referral to the company. So this is really good to know. You can also go ahead here and send submission notifications to teams. So this is really useful because let's say you want to send it to account managers or send it to the closers, then you can select that here. And so then everyone on that team gets notified that, hey, there's a new referral in the pipeline, and then you can do whatever you want with it. Obviously, this can also be set with workflows, which we're going to touch on here in a little bit, but this is the standard way to do it so that they get the whole notification of the form submission. Next, here we can do a campaign. So let's say we want to create a referral campaign. Then we can do that. So we'll do referral campaign and then create that. And now we'll have that campaign data for this form and can track contact attribution and deals closed and stuff like that, depending on your subscription in HubSpot. And then last but not least, we have other options down here, links to reset the form. This pre-populate contact fields with known values. I would recommend this so that it fills out the email with the email that you already have inside of HubSpot. And then since they have this reset link here, they can clear that, or they can just change it by typing it in that box instead. So that's good to make sure that you have these two toggled, makes things a lot more streamlined, increases data quality, and all that good stuff. Last but not least, we talked about the inbox. And so right now I just mapped it to the basic inbox that we have for this demo account. If you click on manage settings down there, you'll be able to reroute this. So let's say that you did want to add in a different inbox here. What you can do is that you can create it, or you can go ahead and create a new inbox. You could do something like referrals, and then you can do forms. And then what we would have to do is we'd have to disconnect it from the current inbox and then connect it to this new one. And so I'm just going to do that. Click next. Automatically assign to, we'll do our account managers. So we'll select account managers, and then we'll just click on save. And so I paused the video and then just connected the external referral form so that I have it as a channel here. One thing to note is that when you do that and you remove it, it's going to reset the form. So you'll have to go back and rebuild the form. So if you are going to have a separate inbox for referrals, then I would just recommend setting that up before you actually build the form out so that you don't have to go back and do everything. So if I go back to this form, manage form, you'll see here that since I reconnected it, it removed all of the information that I had put on there associated with the ticket property, because technically when we disconnect, it's disconnecting it from the ticket pipeline. And so you have to go back and add this again. And so it's a little bit annoying if you connected it to a channel beforehand. So I'm going to pause this and add in those properties again because I forgot that it did that. And then we will continue the video. Okay, so I re-added the properties that were missing, and I think I missed this right here. So this is just going to be your company name. And so now what we can do is we can click on update form. Everything should be set, and we can finally go ahead and create our workflow. So if we go to workflows here, we're going to create a ticket workflow. And so if you have a folder structure, you'll want to put this in whatever relevant folder there is. Obviously, you can see in our demo account, we're not organized with anything as we just build for videos and stuff like that. So we'll just create workflow up here and then go from scratch. And then what we want to do is do a ticket-based workflow. And then we'll start with that blank workflow there. And so now what we're going to do is we want to trigger this workflow when a ticket is created. So we'll do the object created event, click on done, and then we're going to want to add in the filters for the ticket properties. And then we're going to want to make sure that it is the ticket that is relevant to this workflow. So obviously we don't want to trigger it on every single ticket that's submitted because you might be using service pipelines for other things. So there's various ways that we could filter for this. What we're going to do is we're going to use that category that we filled out, so a referral category. Now, This is something that you just want to be careful with. If you create a static field that indicates the form that's being submitted, so it captures the form name or something like that, then you can use that as a filter instead. But for this one, just for simplicity purposes, we're going to use that category property that we modified. Obviously, we could also use, I opened up a new window here, but we could also use the referral information to just make sure that it's filled out. Since it's a required property here, we could say required, referrals email is known instead. So whatever you want to do to filter, just make sure you are filtering only on tickets that are actually referral tickets, not other things. So I'm just going to leave it as referrals email is known, and then click on save. And so now we have our trigger, and then we can start configuring everything else that we want to do here. And so if you remember, we have the email of the actual contact submitting the referral. And so depending on what you're trying to capture, you can start copying that information over from the actual referral to the different objects. And so let's say we wanted to capture that email on the ticket itself. Basically what we can do is, since we're at the beginning of the workflow and there's nothing else associated with the ticket other than one contact who submitted it, we can just do association to object. So this is the contact associated to the ticket. And then what we can do, take a step back here. We're not doing set property value. We are doing copy property value. Slipped up there. We'll do copy property value. And so then we want to copy from the contact to the ticket. And so we're going to have to edit available data here. We're going to add a data source, and then we're going to add in a contact. So this is going to be the contact that has submitted this referral ticket. And so then it's going to ask us how we want to refine. We can do all contacts here. If we want to bring in the contact associated, we could also do by activity, most recently updated. Once again, it's only going to be one contact associated with the ticket at this point because we haven't created the other associations. So we can really choose either one. And then we'll be adding in additional data sources later on as well for other purposes. But we're just going to add most recently updated. And then what we're going to do is we're going to copy from the email property here, if I can find it. There we go. And then on the ticket property, we're going to do the referred by email property. So basically that's just bringing the contact's email that submitted the ticket over to the ticket so that we have that all in context there. Some people like doing this for reporting purposes. It is a duplication of information, and you technically could just look at the associated contacts to the actual ticket to determine this instead. Now we can do the same thing with bringing over additional information from the contact. Like I said, if we don't want to update contact properties with this ticket, then we're going to be putting on either ticket properties associated with the person doing the referring, or we can just copy over that data from the existing contact record and not even collect that information on the form that the person's submitting. So if we were to do that for the company name, for example, let's say we didn't have a company name on that form for the person doing the referring, then what we can do is another copy property action. So I'm going to do copy property value. We are going to use the contact most recently updated. We're going to do company name. And then we can bring that over to the ticket here, if this loads. And then we'll just go in here and do referred by company name. And so that's now copied over. So click on save. So now we have these two actions in there. And I think actually I might have made a mistake here. We have choose the associated object instead of just the current object. So we want to make sure we have the current object in there. and select that. And so that's basically how you can pull in information from the contact record over to the ticket record. You can do the same thing with pulling from other associated objects down the line. But for this example, that's where we're going to stop. And then what we want to do is we want to create an association label between the ticket and the contact who submitted it. And so what we're going to do is click on this plus button, and then we're going to have to install an app here unless we want to use custom code. So we do different approaches depending on the client's needs. You can do this with custom code, or you can do this with existing apps. And so you could search for associate, oops, let's see here. Why that's not showing up, I don't think search is working. But basically, I would recommend looking at available apps. We usually use Associate. We're not affiliated with them at all, but we find it to be reliable and to work in a very easy way. And so basically we just use that. And so what we're going to do is we're going to click on this Associate ticket. We're going to connect the app in the HubSpot ecosystem. It's going to bring us to the page, and then we click on Install App, and it'll open up this window. And then we're going to select our HubSpot demo account and then choose account. So then we're just going to grant access here, connect app, and then we are good to go. So once this loads, it'll redirect us to the setup page for Associate. Obviously, we'd have to fill all this out. I'm just going to do this. Click on Install Now. And then we should be good to go. So it'll redirect us here. I'm just going to X out for this example. And I'm going to go back here, click on Complete. So now we're good to go, and we can configure this next step. So we're going to want to associate the contact with the object, but we're going to want to basically update the association label. And so associated object property is going to be an email. And this is why we collect the email off of the ticket form in the first place. So we have email, and then the search value is going to be from the ticket, and it's going to be the referred by email. So if we copied it over, then we're going to use that for the token. Otherwise, what we would do, well, we would have to do that step because you can't choose another object for the token, so you're going to have to do the referred by email. That's the only option here. So we're going to select that, click on Insert. And so basically what this is going to do is it's going to look up contacts based off of the email of the value of referred by email from the ticket. And so then we just want to add in this referred by label, and then we're good to go. And so now we've associated the ticket to the contact who submitted it with an association label that says referred by. So now we can go to the next step, which is we're going to create the contact that is the referral, and then we're going to associate it correctly to the ticket and then to the other contact as well. And so we're going to do create a record here. We're going to create a contact. And then we have all this information that we can bring over. And so with the enrolled ticket, we collected a bunch of referral information here. So we're going to do referral email. We're going to do referral's first name, referral's last name. And then we're going to copy a property. We're going to do, we'll do phone number. And then we'll do phone number here. Click on done. And then if you wanted to copy over, the notes, you could as well. Sometimes we leave it on the ticket. A lot of times we'll just assign it in a task instead or send an email to the contact owner. We want to associate the contact with the ticket. can't change that. And then you also have all these other options here. If you are going to go the next step and also create companies and deals with this, then you can do that as well. Like I said, for this example, we're just creating a referral contact. We're not actually creating the companies and deals associated with it because that's a lot more complicated. So that's it. We're going to click on save here. Oh, I actually forgot something. I'm going to go back. If you remember, we added sourced from referral and then referred by as well. So what we want to do is we want to add those in. I completely forgot about all those. And so we're just going to do the sourced from referral. And then we are going to leave the rest because we need to copy the values from the existing ticket. So I do source from referral, done. I'm going to do yes. I'm going to add more properties. I'm going to copy referred by, email, and then I'm going to do referred by email there. And I'm just going to leave it at that. If you have other properties that you want to collect and set, then you can add those in to previous steps. So you can copy from the contact over to the ticket, and then you'll be able to copy from that ticket over to the contact. There's other ways of setting this up. So you could do this after you create the association between the two objects. It really depends on how you want to architect it. So then the other thing that we have to do as well, we're going to copy a contact property. We're going to use the record ID. And then we're going to go over to the contact, and it's going to be, let's see, referred by ticket ID. Perfect. Done. I believe that's it. Let's see here. If we wanted to add in the other referred by fields, say we wanted to add in the person name and company name, we can set that. And then if we go up here, so the referred by company name, since we have that copied, or we have that on the ticket, we could use that. So we could do referred by company name. And then this person name is a little different because that's not collected on the form. And so if you remember, we have the other available data. We have the most recently updated. Now, we could use that again just because there's only one contact right now associated to the ticket. Obviously, we're creating a second contact here that's going to be associated with a ticket, but we could still use this this name property from the most recently updated contact. And so you could just do first name space last name, and that's it for that. So just to review, we are setting property values for the email on the new contact, the first name, the last name, and then we're also setting the referred by company name, referred by person name, sourced from referral, and then we're copying over phone number, referred by email, referred by ticket ID. So obviously, if you're collecting other properties and you want to associate that with tickets in the referral, you can do that here. Otherwise, we're just going to leave it as is and click on save. Now, one other thing is if you wanted to set the, and sorry, I keep diving back into this, but if you wanted to set the contact owner statically or copy it over from the ticket, then you could do that. So let's say you want to do ticket owner, and then you can assign that to the contact owner. You could do that here. If you're doing like a rotation, then you would want to create a separate workflow for when the contact is created, and we're going to go into that after this. So either way, you can set that here. So we're just copying it over for now, and then I'll show you how to do a rotation afterwards. So we create the record. Now we want to go back and do another associate. So we're going to do associate ticket. And for this one, we're going to do contact once again. We're going to search by the referrals email. So we want to search for the email property of the associated object. The search value is going to be the referral email. Then we're going to click on insert. Then the associated label is going to be referral. And so now we're going to have both a referral and a referred by contact associated with the ticket. So that's good. And so now we created this new contact here, and we're good to go. Let's say we wanted to copy over the notes from the form. We're going to do that in a separate workflow. But basically, this is it. This is all we have set up for this workflow. We're going to name it referral submission, create contact, create referral contact. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add another workflow. So this is going to be reviewed and published. We're going to turn it on. And now we want to go back to workflows and set up a contact workflow that triggers when this referral contact is created. So I go back to create workflow from scratch, contact based, click on next. And our trigger is going to once again be an object created trigger. So when an event occurs, we're going to do object created, click on done. And then we want to add in a filter for that sourced by referral. This is a critical part, or sourced from referral is any of yes. So we do that, we click save. So this is going to trigger once this other workflow runs, the ticket submitted, we copy property values from the referral contact, we create an association to the referral contact, we create the actual referral and then associate that back to the ticket. And now this contact that was created, we're going to enroll it in this workflow. And so I'm going to name this as well, contact referral, contact created, create associations and tasks. Perfect. So now what we can do is we are going to once again associate the contact to another object. This one is going to be another contact, so contact to contact. The associated contact, we once again are going to be looking up the email. And then the search value is going to be, oops. It's actually going to be the referred by ticket ID. And so we're going to have to go back and make a change. So associated object property is going to be the referred by ticket ID. And the naming convention might be a little confusing here. I probably should have named it referral ticket ID. And then we're going to go back and make a change to make this possible. I messed up here on the build. So the associated label is going to be contact to contact, and it's going to be referred by. So this is directional, remember. So since we're going from the contact, that's the referral, back to the contact who referred them, it's referred by. And so then it'll create the correct relationship directionally. So we're going to click save. And now, since we did it by the ticket ID, I'm going to actually go back here. And I'm going to go up to these copy property values, and I'm going to add another one in here. I'm going to do copy property value. And for this one, we want to copy from the record ID of the enrolled ticket over to the referred by, or the referrer's ticket ID property. So if you remember when we created the contact, we captured that information. So now we want to do it again. So I'm going to copy property value. It's going to be record ID. And then our target object is going to be this contact. And there's no association label right now. There's just one contact at this point in the workflow. Then I'm going to go to ticket ID. And now the ticket ID will be correct, and we can look it up and refer or associate the objects for the referral. And so now if I go back here, this association will work correctly. And so that's pretty much it. Like we created the ticket form. When it's submitted, we are copying the properties between objects that we need to. We are creating a new record and associating it back to the ticket. And then we have a contact workflow where we are associating that newly created referral back to who referred them, so we can see that relationship. Some additional things you can do here is create some tasks. So let's say we want to assign a task. We could do that here. We can say new referral created, due dates immediately, and then we can add in our notes with our properties here. And then we can assign the task to an existing owner of the contact, which would be the contact owner. And boom, we are done. So you can do tasks, you can do emails, you can do other actions like creating deals automatically off of this referral if that's your process. You can create companies, obviously, as well. And then one other thing we talked about before is just rotating this contact. So let's say you don't want to just copy over the contact owner. I'm sorry, you don't want to copy over the ticket owner to the contact that's created. Instead, what you can do is you can just use your rotate record to owner step here, and then you can rotate it. Let's say you just want it to go to the setters, for example. Then you could rotate it to your setters team, and then they'll have the context of this is a referral. These are the notes that you submitted, and they can contact that new referral. So you can do that, overwrite, and click save. So I'm going to review and publish. Cool. And so now, last but not least, we have to test so we can see exactly how this works. And so I'm going to refresh this external referral form. And then I'm going to click on share. Copy. I'm going to update it first. I don't know what other changes there were. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this tab here to submit this information. And so I'm going to use my real email here. Put my company in there. Then we're going to do this test referral. We're going to do a test company here instead so that it's different than my company. Then we're going to do this. Comments, referral, and we're going to click submit. Let me make sure this is on. Yep, that's on. So we have that. Thanks for submitting the form. And now what we should see, if we go back to our contacts, we should see that new contact that was referred to us. And what you can see, we have, I have to refresh the page there, but what you can see is we have this test referral that was submitted. So if I go in there and click on it, this is the referral that was created from the automation. And so obviously there was an issue because this is just a test one. You can see we have the phone number, email, the contact owner that was rotated. This was all sent over. We have the task that was created. We have the ticket here. And so you can see that it's associated back to the ticket and it says referral. So this was the actual form submission. And so now you can also sync this ticket. You can set up some other automations, some other workflows that basically as deals progress or contacts progress through lifecycle stages, you can automatically update these tickets here. You can also see here on the right, you have the contacts that are associated. So the referral is marked as the referral with the association label. And then this is my profile, and you can see that I was the one who referred it. So if I go then into my contact information, let me see where the contacts, might have to add this real quick. Oh no, here it is at the bottom. So you can see down here at the like object associations, we have the contacts that are associated, and you can see that it's labeled as a referral. So if you wanted to associate those contacts, this is where it would be. You can see, okay, this person's related to this person, and you can start creating a really nice web of referrals that you can map using some of HubSpot's new tools. So hopefully this was somewhat followable. You were able to kind of track how I built this. Once again, I did this live, so I made some mistakes along the way and had to go back. You can get pretty complicated with this. So for us, we've built this for a few clients, and some of the cooler builds, we were building out this referral flow, and it got a little more complicated, but we tie it back to stuff like commissions. We create companies and deals automatically off of it. We trigger a bunch of other stuff in other systems. So you can get as complicated as you want, but this is a great start just to be able to submit these referrals and have them created in your CRM with some information and context. It gives you a lot of power in the sales process when calling that referral up or sending them an email to schedule a meeting. So if you do need help with stuff like this, obviously you can reach out to us. We build stuff like this all the time. We're always pushing the limits in terms of data inside of HubSpot. So hopefully this was a useful video for you. If you have questions about this process, feel free to reach out. Once again, I'm Dan Saavedra from mergerdata.com, and thanks for watching.